Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Rosemond Prempe and this is the Embrace Life series. Today we're going to be discussing the lessons that I took out of 2020. The year 2020 taught most of us so many things. Now these 20 things that I'm going to be discussing are what I took out of 2020. Please feel free to share your experience, the things you took out, the lessons. Just feel free to comment in the comment section below. The first thing I learned from 2020 is the fact that, oh my goodness, life is fleeting. You're here today and gone tomorrow. You could literally be on the phone with somebody like a few hours ago, be chatting, and before you know, people are saying rest in peace on Facebook. And you're like, oh my goodness, this can't be happening because I was literally just chatting with this person a few hours ago. You go back to check on your WhatsApp and you're like, the person was online like 6 hours ago. This can't be happening. But yeah, in 2020 was happening. So yeah, we know this already, but in 2020 it hit us real hard that look, life is fleeting. Number 2, that all we have is now, tomorrow is not guaranteed. So if you have anything to do, 2020 taught us that you have to get going, start doing it. You may not be perfect, you may make mistakes, but do it anyway, because now is all you have. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Number 3, in 2020, I learned that when you're in crisis, it reveals people's true nature. So crises generally reveal who we really are. Now in the year 2020, where there was shortage of food, we were on lockdown, people lost their jobs, you could tell that people who were givers, they were always giving on their timelines, on their status, they were giving, reaching out to people. You could see how selfless people were. At the same time, you could also tell those who were selfish and talking about me, how am I going to make out of 2020 alive? How am I going to keep myself, well? Everything was me. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for self-care. But I'm not talking about you taking care of yourself, which is so important. I'm talking about the fact that you don't have to be selfish. We all have to give to one another. The fourth lesson I got out of 2020 is the fact that it's not good for people to be alone. Even people who are extremely introverted, it got to a point they just could not stay on their own again because we're on lockdown, and if you happen to be living alone all by yourself, oh my goodness, it was getting to people's minds. So in 2020, I believe that most of us got to know that it's not good for anybody to be alone. Remember in the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 18, God said, it is not good for a man to be alone. Let me make him a helper comparable to him. And in this instance, I'm not talking about marriage. I'm not talking about God creating Eve just for Adam in the sense of marriage, but the fact that generally God saw that it wasn't good for man to be alone. There's a role that we play in each other's lives, and in 2020 it was so glaring, the fact that it's not good for anyone to be alone. Number 5, it got to a point everything was so uncertain that uncertainty became the new certain. You were sure that things were going to be uncertain, and it kept getting worse. Events got cancelled. If you were somebody like me who used to plan well ahead, you had events booked, seminars you're going to attend, speaking appointments, holidays, so many things planned out for the year, but boom, COVID came, you had to change plans, and things got uncertain by the day. So one of the lessons I got out of 2020 is the fact that in 2020, it was so uncertain that uncertainty became the new certain. And it taught me that nothing really is that certain in life. Anything can happen. Now, the 6th lesson I got is the fact that the world needs more love, more kindness, more empathy. We need to be more compassionate towards one another. We couldn't have sailed through 2020 with a selfish attitude. It hit me that, listen, we may think that the world needs more development, more infrastructure, but really and truly, the world needs more compassion. We need to be kind. We need more meekness. That's what I took out of 2020. Number 7, that we need to appreciate the people in our lives. We lost some notable people in 2020, and if we didn't have the chance to celebrate them while they were alive, that was a hit all of us, because sometimes you feel like oh, this person is going to be here for some time. Oh, my mom is going to be here. Oh, my dad is going to be here. Sometimes we can get so busy, so carried away that our parents or the people who are very important in our lives will be calling us. And you're like, oh, I'm going to call them back. But listen, celebrate the people in your life. Don't take anyone for granted. Appreciate the people in your life, your loved ones, your family, friends, people who've been there for you. Appreciate them while they are alive. Don't wait to write long tributes when they are dead, because as we said in number 1, life is fleeting. So appreciate them while they have breath, while they can also feel good about your appreciation. Number 8, oh my goodness, count your blessings, save your blessings, and let your blessings be a blessing to somebody. In 2020, I learned to count my blessings, the things I used to take for granted. I said, oh my goodness, Lord, I thank you for that. I thank you for that. But at the same time, because things were uncertain, you had to now think of how to save money more, how to save groceries. And at the same time, because you have so much, you had to also think of how to bless somebody who doesn't have that much, with, it could be anything, groceries, your words of encouragement, money. We had to send money to so many people who needed help. Because listen, sometimes if you think about your problem alone, you will think that, oh, I'm sure other people are okay. But if you were to listen to the stories of other people, you realize that yours is way better, and you can still give some to people and you will still be fine. Because people were literally, those who had lost jobs, and there were places where people had money but they couldn't even get groceries to buy because there was nothing to pick up from their shelves. It was that bad. Yeah. Okay, so number 9, never take things for granted. Never. The things that you take for granted, please. We used to take for granted walking around without a mask, without anything covering your mouth. We used to take for granted when we used to just go and, party with friends, attend weddings, go to church and shake hands, commune with your church members, hug. We used to take all of those things for granted. And then COVID came. And oh my goodness, you go to church and you have to observe protocol. You have to make sure there's social distancing. And the things that I used to take for granted, I learned that, listen, no, don't take anything for granted. Don't take your life for granted. Don't take good health for granted. Nothing. Do not take anything for granted. Please, 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 please don't take anything for granted. All right, so that was number 9. Number 10, we don't always have the chance to say goodbye. I know you may not have the chance to say goodbye to somebody. So as I said earlier on, appreciate people while they are alive. In 2020, it was so sad listening to the news. And in some parts of the world, the ambulance will pick somebody. There was one I witnessed on TV, I think it was on CNN, when the ambulance picked up a child. And the mother was not allowed to be on the ambulance. The child had COVID. I think it was a teenager. And you could tell the mom and the dad wailing while the ambulance was driving off. And I think following the story, they will get to the car park and they'll be doing video call from the car park, and it was sad. People lost family members and they didn't even have the chance to say goodbye. People lost their spouses, their family members, and they didn't have the chance to say goodbye. So it taught me in a humble way how to appreciate people, as I rightly said, because you don't always have the chance to say goodbye. You don't. Okay, number 11, a healthy body, a beating heart, and all of that, right, that you used to take for granted, 2020 taught us to value. So if you get up and you can breathe, there's no oxygen, you're not gasping for breath, please don't take it for granted. Because in 2020, we saw so many things. People were getting complications. Some got COVID and came out okay, but others, to be very honest, people are still battling with post-COVID symptoms, as they rightly put it, if I'm right. And so what 2020 taught me was that if you get up, you don't have any complications, listen, don't take it for granted. Please, do not take your healthy body for granted. If you get up and you're still breathing, don't take it for granted. Anytime you wake up, thank God, because He's giving you another opportunity, another chance to be alive. And that's a second chance to life. Don't take it for granted. Number 13, life is too short to hold on to grudges. Because listen, there are people that I'm sure heard about the deaths of people on Facebook or wherever, and they felt so bad because we're holding on to grudges with these people, and they think about the last time they talked to them and how you maltreated them, and how because you were so bitter, how they made an attempt to apologize, you didn't even give them a listening ear, and now these people are gone. They didn't get the chance to apologize, and you didn't get the chance to forgive them, and you realize that, oh my goodness, I wish I had forgiven them. I mean, how do you feel reading the tributes? How do you feel seeing the rest in peace? Are you at peace now? I'm sure not. So while you have the chance, please I hope you didn't carry any grudges over to 2021. If you had any grudge with anyone, please, life is too fleeting, it's too short for you to hold on to any grudge. I believe you've heard this saying over and over again. You know, holding on to a grudge with somebody is like drinking poison and waiting on the other person to die. Because you holding on to the grudge is actually poison to your soul, to your immune system, to your well-being, to your sanity. Just let it go. Don't hold on to any grudge. Forgive easily. That's one of the lessons I took out of 2020. Number 14, the things that we thought we needed and we wanted were not really the things for us. For most people, when they lost their 9-to-5 job, they thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to survive? I'm the breadwinner. How am I going to pay school fees? How am I going to pay rent? But some way, somehow, God gave them a business idea. God gave them an opportunity to thrive, and they are doing way better. And these were people who thought they had to survive on that particular 9-to-5. But God came through. They had a breakthrough, and it wasn't even what they had in mind. So for most of us, we will think that, oh, it has to be this way and this is the only way. But 2020 taught us that God has other ways for us. If only we will open up. If only we'll be open-minded to see the opportunities. Yeah, that's what I took out of 2020. I think that was number 14. Okay, so number 15, I also learned that we actually need a lot less than we have. Trust me. So COVID came, we couldn't go anywhere. It didn't really matter whether you had 2 cars or 3 cars or 10 cars. The cars were sitting right there. You couldn't use it. We were on lockdown. It didn't matter whether you had 20 pairs of shoes. You couldn't wear these shoes anywhere. There was no church, no weddings. You couldn't go to the office. So yeah, your shoes were there, all right. But there were people who had clothes and shoes and still died anyway. And people had groceries packed up in their lofts, in their garages. And during COVID, that was a time that it hit them that, listen, we're wasting food because we have so much that every time we're wasting food, let me give out. And in that time of scarcity, they gave out, but still they managed the little that they had, and they survived, and it even lasted longer. So in 2020, we realized that we don't need that much. We've piled up things, so many things that we don't need. You know, we need a lot less than we have, and that's one of the lessons that I took out of 2020. Number 16, I learned that crisis can make people wild and untamed. Oh my goodness. So during the lockdown, just before the lockdown was announced, we saw in many parts of the world, before COVID hit Africa, we saw videos in most parts of the world where just because they knew that there was going to be a lockdown, people rushed into the shops, and you could see people literally fighting for a pack of tissue. And it was so sad. It was funny and sad at the same time. Funny in the sense that ordinarily, you know, people will go past that aisle and probably not even pick that up. Or you would think that when people are fighting over something, it will be food, but no, at that time it was an essential, like it was an essential product, because you're going to be on lockdown for so long, and of course you needed toilet tissue. But people were actually fighting. When I say fighting, they were fighting. People were fighting over water, over cereal. And I was thinking, is this what the pandemic has reduced us to? I remember there was a lady who cried when she saw her video later on, because she couldn't believe she acted that way. You know, I'm sure that ordinarily this is somebody who is not that untamed, for lack of words, or this is not somebody who is so aggressive, but suddenly, I don't know if it was an anxiety or the fear of, am I going to get one? No, this is the last one, I have to have it. I don't even know. But I learned that, you know, crises have a way of making us untamed, so you have to watch it. People became aggressive and easily agitated. So yeah, that was one lesson I took out of 2020. All right, so in 2020, I decided not to hold back. I decided to evolve to be this new woman that I love so much. I decided to be all that I can ever be. I decided not to hold back to anything. The things that were holding me back, like fear of the unknown, fear of being judged, fear of people's opinions. Listen, for several years, I wanted to have a YouTube channel, and I would push this and say, oh, I'm going to start next month. And the following month, I'll say, I think I have to start in the middle of the month, of the year, say June. You know, we're just about to end June. Let me wait and start in July so that I'll start in the other half. And then I'll be like, I'm going to start just before Christmas. I did that for several years. Then I'll say, it's good to start just in the beginning of the year. Then I'll discuss their goals and their aspirations, and I'll get them to set their goals. But 2020 taught me that life is fleeting. If you want to do something, do it anyway. So one lesson I took for myself is I'm not going to hold back anything. I'm going to be the best version of Rosemond. I'm going to make mistakes if I may and learn from my mistakes. But I knew that God will never leave me nor forsake me, and I knew that God will always guide me no matter what. So I became this new woman that I love, and I've decided to go all out and serve God, go all out and share the word of God. I've decided to do anything that God has called me to do that I was holding on to. So many things hold so many people back. But if there's any lesson that you took out of 2020, please, let nothing hold you back. Be your best version. And once you evolve into somebody, a new person, once you work on your character, you work on your value system, embrace this new you. Embrace this new you. Number 18, that a cancelled event, a cancelled wedding, cancelled flight, cancelled whatever will not bring the world to an end. Previously, you used to think that no, this thing has to happen. It has to happen by all means. But 2020 came, things were cancelled, flights were cancelled, events were cancelled, and the world didn't come to an end. It means there are things that sometimes you think, I definitely need to do this, but you cancel it and nothing happens. So yeah, I took a lesson out of 2020 that a cancelled trip won't bring your world to an end. Number 19, oh my goodness, relationships matter. Relationships matter a lot. Now, when we came on lockdown, there were families who could even live together. Do you know why? Because in normal times, the kids will go to school, mom and dad will go to work, they probably meet in the evening. Sometimes one will even get to bed before the other comes. So people used to spend minimal time together. But 2020 came and we had to be on lockdown together. So that was a time that you knew that if you didn't have a relationship with your kids, with your spouses, you saw that relationships matter. And that was a good time for people to bond. Now, during that space, it's the relationships that you built in the past, your colleagues that you're so close to, your family members, they'll reach out to you, you reach out to them to check on them. And as I said earlier on, it's not good for anyone to be alone. But during crisis, that's when the relationships you've built, right? The relationships you've built with people, that's when you feed on those relationships. And please, relationships matter, family matters. Yes, we have our jobs, we have everything, but please know this, that relationships matter. Because you used to think that, oh, if I didn't go to work for a week, something will happen to me. You were on lockdown. Some places are still on lockdown. You were on lockdown for weeks, for months. You didn't see that colleague at work, but you survived, right? So relationships matter. Sometimes it's not just the routine that matters, but the relationship matters. Number 20, that we need to be able to adapt to the new normal. You need to be able to adapt. Adaptability is key. You need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to, learn how to adjust to new conditions, the new normal. We all quickly had to learn how to breathe with a face mask on. And I said to myself, I don't know how these doctors have been doing it for years. They go to hospital and they have their nose mask on because it can be very uncomfortable. Sometimes you want to take it off, but you can't because you need to think about the other person too. We all need to have our masks on so we reduce the spread. And we had to adjust to new ways of having events. Quickly, we had to learn how to have virtual conferences. Kids had to learn how to use their iPads and their laptops to be in class. We had to quickly learn how to be on Teams, use Zoom. I'm sure there were people who didn't have Zoom or other things, on their gadgets. You have to quickly download and adjust to the new normal. You go to places and you've seen family members you haven't seen in a long time. You want to hug them. You want to, be close to them. But the new norm says that social distancing, and we all had to adjust. So one of the 20th lesson I took out of 2020 is the fact that you have to be able to adapt no matter what. Okay, so these are the 20 lessons I took out of 2020. I really want to hear from you. Please comment in the comment section below and let me know what you took out of 2020. I believe that this year will be a good year, and I hope that I've been a blessing to you. Kindly follow me on my social media platforms if you haven't already. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. All right, till I come your way once again, thanks for tuning in. Bye.